see. Okay. I think we're streaming. Oh my gosh. Let me check. Phone's dead. Okay. Let me grab my cord. Hey guys, welcome to the stream, another late night stream. You know, still working out that schedule cuz you know, every schedule's been crazy for the past couple days cuz I'm trying to get everything sorted in terms of the I'm trying to get everything sorted when it comes to my scheduling and everything like that because um pretty soon I'm going my schedule's going to change and become it should become consistent if everything works out with one of my jobs because I have one of those bosses, if you know what I mean. Like, you know those bosses where they're like, "Oh, like I don't mind like I could give you those days off, but can you really can you come in still? Is there like are they negotiable?" I'm like, "No, dude. Those are not negotiable." You know, like if I'm asking for this, it's because I really need it. I'm not asking cuz I'm joking around. You know? I'm like I asked him cuz what's going to happen is I'm going to have I'm going to be moving my streaming schedule to Tuesdays and Thursdays because that's when my class days are. And this like I legitimately basically I told him, "Hey, these are my class days." Right? Tuesdays and Thursdays, right? I have to go and drive out an hour out to school. I have to attend a 4-hour lecture and then come back. And he has the audacity, my boss has the audacity to be like, "But is there a chance you can come in after work after that?" I'm like, "Fuck no! Fuck no! Who the hell would go and travel out for school, go through the ordeal of just dealing with everything, and then just to go to work and get screamed at by customers?" Like when he said that, I was like, "What is your logic, dude? Like, what type of world do you live in?" Cause I'm sorry, I don't think we live in the same bubble, right? I don't think we live in the same world where someone has the energy to go through a whole rigorous class load and then be like, "Oh yes, I will definitely be screamed at by customers and be putting away heavy equipment. I definitely have the energy for that." I'm like, "What the hell? What world do you live in, dude?" But hopefully, that gets approved, and then that would probably start not next week, but the week after that, because school schedule and everything. I'm excited. My classes are basically I'm doing film class. I'm finally taking the film class that I need to take, but luckily it's not with the teacher I hate. Luckily, cause what happened was I had to put off school for a whole year because what happened was there's this teacher that I don't like. And he's the only one that teaches this class. Well, used to be the only one that taught that class. And what would happen is that last year, fall, I enrolled in the class and everything like that. But because he didn't feel like teaching this class, remind you guys, literally, I have to take this class because it's a prerequisite for the rest of the classes for my final term. Right? And this dude just up and's like, nah, I'm not feeling it. See you next year. Because also, he doesn't teach it in the spring. So I had to wait a whole fucking year just to get back. Just to get back to it. And I'm like, what the hell? You know, like, I was like, and I try to argue with, like, admissions to be like, hey, is there any way I can get around this or anything like that? No, apparently not. No. So I had to wait a whole year. So this year comes around, and I'm like, I don't care if I have to deal with this terrible teacher. Because the reason I'm not, when I say he's a terrible teacher, I do mean he's a terrible teacher. This man, he will basically do is, I had him in a previous class. It was broadcast writing. And what happened in broadcast writing is that you would go into the class. You are required to stay there for 2 hours on a Zoom conference. And instead of talking about broadcast writing, he would just talk about himself for 2 hours straight. You could not leave it. You had to stay there. Attendance was mandatory. And unfortunately, he, like, when we finally finished with the class, he's like, okay, go here. This is the assignment. Have fun. And I'm like, you gave us no idea of what to do, no guide on how that's supposed to work, and also, like, what are your standards with this, right? And that, it would be fine if, like, it was just like, okay, it's a free write type of thing. Like, I know there are teachers that are like, oh yeah, write what you feel, right? And then we'll course correct. But this teacher was a very strict grader. So he would give you no layout of what you were learning. You had to figure it out on your own. There also wasn't a textbook. So it's not like there was anything for us to really reference. He was like, oh, if you have any questions, reference a syllabus. And I'm like, dude, the only thing that's on your syllabus is just code markers. That's it. No structure, no nothing for how we're supposed to write these. And these are different genres of script writing for broadcasts. And of course, no, I didn't do well in that class. And so I'm like, when I saw that he would have to be the teacher for this class, I'm like, oh my gosh, I was dreading it. And then, luckily, I pulled up my computer yesterday, and I see a very wonderful sight. He was replaced. He was replaced with a better teacher. Well, I don't know if this teacher is a better teacher. I do not know yet, because she's only been there for 2 years, and I have not found anything on her rate your professor, but, like, I'll take anyone at this point over him. Literally. Like, I don't mind when teachers talk about themselves. That's fine because sometimes you can glean some idea from that experience. But when you're only talking about yourself and it's not related to what you're writing or what the class is about, it becomes such a very frustrating thing at that point. So I'm so glad I'm going to be taking that class, and then I'm taking a marketing class because I finished all of my gen eds. So I literally now just, so that way I can have my scholarship, because I'm on scholarship. So in order for my scholarship to work, I have to have one extra class. And so since I finished all my gen eds, I finished all my extracurriculars, I finished pretty much everything. Now I just get to pick whatever class I want. And I figured marketing would probably be the best class to go with because considering, what I'm doing here is kind of, in a sense, you need to have a background in social media marketing in some way, shape, or form. I think that, that would be a class that would be very conducive for me in what I need right now. But okay, so that's it for the announcements section that I have every single time. So yeah, we are writing the traffic accident. So where we left off was Light learn Sudu's last name. He learned his last name. Now he has to write the name, and we have to write this very, very crazy traffic accident that Light has to witness, right? So we are going to be writing this and this accident. For those of you who have the book, like I say every single time, for those of you who have the book, open your pages to, I believe this is, let me see what page it is. Not that page. Not that page. Okay. I'm trying to find a page with a number. So that way I can give you a good idea what number page to go to. Ay. Man, when they designed the comic book, they did not like page numbers. Okay, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35. We're on page 35 of the book. Oh, that reminds me. Let me put in the chat the link to Viz's website of their copy of the book. Deathnote. So give me one moment so I can get the... Okay, and I'm going to click copy. This is not from Viz's website, but it is from a website that has it for free. Because, you know me, you guys, I would hate for you guys to just, if you're not a big fan of Death Note, I would hate for you to have to, I wouldn't want to require you to buy it just so that way you can participate. I think that's ridiculous. So I would much rather you have a link to the free version, and then if you want to buy it for convenience, that's your thing. Wonderful. But yeah, I really would prefer you have the free copy, in my opinion. But so yeah, let's open up. Okay, so let's see. Light gestures upward with his head to the security cam. This is that is behind him. So Sudo lets go of the cashier, walks around the counter. Sudo grabs his stuff off the counter, walks to the door. Sudo stops and turns around. If you like to see me, pull up my number. The name is Shibutaka Ataku. Sudo puts on his helmet. Sudo opens the door and walks through. Light smiles. Okay. So, like I said last time, we have to be very careful with angles. That's the key for this one, because if we're not careful with angles, we can accidentally create a plot hole with the cameras. Right? So, we know that there's a camera behind Light right now in this scene. In this scene, there's a camera behind Light. And so, I think the cashier has to say something. Light has to bring his stuff to the cashier. The cashier has to say something. I think Light should do is break away, basically tell the lady, hey, I think I need to get like a manga or something. Right? I want to check out the manga section. Mind if I leave my stuff up here for 2 seconds. Right? I feel like that, I think something along the lines of that he has to say. And then that's the moment where he opens the manga. He puts the Death Note in there, and he writes every variation of the name he can think of for Sudo. Until it happens. And then he grabs the manga, brings it to it, because he can't just, like, if he's looking down and reading a manga, right, and then he could put it away, but it could prove suspicious later on, that he, like, took some time, read a manga. For someone who's, like, looking for someone that's basically, like, writing in a notebook to kill, right? Someone that's looking for suspicious behavior of some kind, that would be something where it'd be, like, suspicious, because if you're a teenage boy and you're looking for, like, a manga, right? And you are taking, like, a good amount of time with this manga, right? You wouldn't be putting it back. It's more suspicious of him putting it back rather than him buying it. So I believe that Light buys it because it's a good cover. Oh, hi. Oh, thank you, Ranger Athena. for reading. Oh my gosh, thank you so much. You're and thank you Fluffy Cloud for like for following. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Wow. Hi. Hi. Um I hope you had a good stream. Like hi you guys. Oh my gosh, this is the first time I've ever been rated. This so like this means a lot. Oh my gosh. Hi guys. Oh wow. I hope your stream went well. Oh, we did. We're looking for someone to raid and we saw new faces in writers and we had to come by. LOL. Not gonna lie, yeah. Um I love that. Yeah, I'll keep you in mind if like when I go to see for people to raid. Um for my streams eventually, like not eventually, but like if I see you at the same time, I wouldn't mind like rating you. Oh my gosh, thank you so much for rating. Oh my gosh. I always love having more connection with people in the community. Especially, fellow writers. We got to stick it together. Cuz even though we might not be writing in the same style, like I'm more screenwriting, some people are more novel writing. I find that we're still putting pen to paper. We're still coming up with these obscene worlds. Oh my gosh, yeah. And in my case, I like going pretty dark with my writing. I'm not gonna lie. Um, I love writing just the most sadistic type things. So, yeah. But yeah, but yeah, I think that all writing is good. Yeah, I I'm personally I'm more of a horror writer. I prefer horror because it's a good vessel. Oh yes, torturing the snot out of characters. I'm not gonna lie, it is true. It's very cathartic because you have the ability to like kind of like work through trauma from your past through doing that. I think in a way you're able to work through trauma by doing that, by like torturing characters, and also on top of that, it's also a good. You're able to like kind of examine the human condition, very well. That's why I love horror because it's an idea of like going and taking a character and putting them through very very hard adversity and then having them come out the other end of it like a different person in a sense. And that's with every hero's journey, but I feel with horror we're able to see people from an outsider's point of view, and we're able to basically like see things that talk about topics that are not really talked about if it were like a more happier story. Like something that I really admire about horror is you can talk about like body dysmorphia. You can talk about these disorders and these very important topics, but in a way where an audience that doesn't relate to that can understand it in a way. Oh gosh. Oh man. But yeah, but basically like for me, I love like for example Frankenstein. Frankenstein is a good example of like body dysmorphia. This is a person that was born created brought into being and then to look down and everyone around them makes them feel like they're a monster because they look different. And then they look down at themselves and they just see everything that's wrong with them. And I feel like that's one of those stories where you definitely need, I would want, if I ever had the chance to, I would want to address that, because at its core, it's that. And it's also some stories like Frankenstein and stuff like that. You're able to address things like, for example, Mary Shelley was able to address the topic of her miscarriage through that. Let me see. What kind of horror do you write, if you don't mind asking? Like more existential, psychological type, overt, or more monstrous? It really depends upon the story I want to write. I kind of go all over the place, but it depends upon the story that I'm going for. Because if you want to talk about like the human condition of people who are different being treated like different, I go for more monster horror, because monsters are the greatest form of like being able to like create something where an audience can understand visually, and then being able to translate that into issues that are something that people deal with day to day. Whereas, for example, take for instance like, like a psychological horror or like a slasher, right? Those types of films or stuff like that, I like to view it as like the view of like how predatory our lives have become. In a sense, the world in a way where like you're looking at what horrors can man do when not held back, right? So like, what horrors can man do if you gave them an extensive amount of money, right? Or so like that Squid Game I consider as a horror because of the fact of that what would people do if for the chance to have money, right? And I'm also in the camp of like, yeah, you kind of like, I like, you have to write horror in a way. When you're writing horror, you have to keep in mind, what are you trying to say topically with the story? It can't just be like, oh, we're running away from a monster. What does running away from the monster mean? I'm someone that I took a lot from Jennifer's Body. I really love Diablo Cody's Jennifer's Body, and I love Lisa Frankenstein. I basically fell in love with her work. I also fell in love with Tim Burton's work. Very young. So I Diablo Cody's Jennifer's Body, for example, dissecting it, right? Jennifer's Body, at the surface, right? At the surface, we're not going deep, right? At the surface, Megan Fox, and we got Amanda Seyfried. Besties. Yeah, they're besties, but they have a toxic relationship, a toxic friendship. Jennifer gets, she gets attacked. We're gonna say attacked. We're just gonna say that. She gets attacked by this band that takes advantage of her, and they make fun of the whole thing of taking advantage of her. And then she dies. She comes back to life, but she becomes a demon. And because she can't kill the people that did this to her, she just goes after boys, because she feels that boys are the problem, right? But she's also killing the boys because most of the boys, they're getting too close to Needy, and she wants Needy all for herself. So that's Jennifer's Body on the surface, right? That's surface level. if you go into Jennifer's body through a slasher movie idea, right? Jennifer's Body is the first film where we are able to empathize with the victim. Because when basically we're set up to Jennifer from when she was little. We're set up to know she's like a very kind, she's not the kindest girl, but she's not like Regina George, right? And she on top of that, so we're set up that she doesn't deserve what Low Shoulder does to her. And then the scene where they kill her, it's not shot like how a normal slasher film would. Normal slasher film would literally film it from the killer's perspective. But we don't get the killer's perspective. We get Jennifer's perspective of them making fun of her crying out for help and for her being victimized in this way. And we see how terrified she is. And we take no, and when you watch it, you cannot take pleasure in watching that. You can't, the audience can't separate themselves. Because that's what often happens with slasher films. We separate ourselves from the victim, and it's just like, oh, why didn't they go and close the garage door or something like that? That happens because we get into the mindset of the killer, in a sense. And then what inevitably happens to her is she goes and she, comes back to life. And when she comes back to life, she knows people, the boys are there for her body. So she lures them in, just like how the marketing people who tried to lure boys into this film initially, causing it to tank because it was a film made for the female audience. They try to lure boys in with Jennifer Fox, and so she lures them with her body, and then she strips that apart and makes them feel as victimized as she felt, right? We can also look at it from a different perspective of Needy and her relationship. Needy is in a codependent relationship with Jennifer. And it's not until Jennifer dies, right, that Needy starts dissecting this relationship and realizing how toxic it is. Of that, her and Jennifer don't know where the friendship's going. They don't know if they want to go into lovers or stay friends, or if they want to do what do they want to do with their relationship, but they can't exist without each other. And that's their big problem. They don't know how to exist without each other. And it takes Needy learning how to be her own self to then overpower Jennifer. And then after Jennifer finally dies, taking that power that Jennifer gives her, that as a parting gift, that is in a sense a symbolism for the independence and freedom that she has gained from Jennifer, but also the closure she has gained in the self-actualization of Needy. She then goes and enacts Jennifer's revenge by killing Low Shoulder. And for Low Shoulder and for the audience, we don't get the pleasure of actually seeing how they died. we only see the crime scene pictures of what's left. Oh, hey Ken Bush. Hey, yeah, I'm doing good. Just basically talking about horror films and Jennifer's Body, pretty much. Yeah. And still trying to like figure out how bad I want this traffic accident to be. Cuz this is the problem with writing deaths, right? It has to be very instrumental. It's interesting hearing the last bit since I've never seen it before. I highly suggest watch Jennifer's Body. It is a really good, and I'm only saying the two big things of the film. You can go even deeper with Jennifer's Body because it was written intellectually. Similar thing is to Lisa Frankenstein. If you really look at Lisa Frankenstein, it has an intellectual message behind it, other than her resurrecting a old dead poet just so that way she can go and have fun times with him. The thing is that I don't. The thing is, right? He is only doing this death as a test. That's the key. And I need to figure out I don't want the cashier to die because I need to find a way for him to. Yes. This scene is very tricky because, like I said, you have to go. What is the main thing is that there's security cameras in this scene. And this is for a series, right? This is series writing. So if I write this wrong, then basically that becomes a plot hole. So I have to account for the camera that's in shot. I have to account for what is light thinking. 3, I have to also picture how this accident can make him look innocent, but also how can this accident make him look guilty at the same time. These are all the components I have to do. I have to figure out how to make him look innocent enough to the normal passerby that's watching this surveillance footage, but not innocent enough because this footage is going to get reviewed by a PI and is going to be shown to his dad to prove that he may be a murderer. So I have to go and be very careful with this scene because any little misstep can cause a big plot hole real quick. So yeah, it is rough. Let me pull up my phone. So that way I can have the chat here. Yeah, it is rough. That way I can have the chat on my phone while I start typing. Okay, this. Pull up the chat on the phone. Okay, good. I can't really give any recommendations there, unfortunately. Yeah. Like I said, it's hard. This is, I know that this is the one tricky scene, and once this tricky scene is over, then we get to the other side of it of writing the the end of the episode, the cliffhanger of the episode, right? So I know that even though it's crazy, I just have to bear through it. So Sodu puts his his helmet on, opens the door, walks through it. Light smiles. Describe. Okay. Okay. Let's see. Light. But I'm working. Okay, so I'm working on a adaptation. So an adaptation is basically taking a piece of work from a different source, so like a book or a manga or stuff like that, and turning it into a script. I'm doing it an adaptation. Now, this is not this is to basically demonstrate like how writing for an adaptation basically works for people. And I have the ability to write the adaptation. Now, to make the adaptation, I would have to get copyright approval. So the writing of it, I'm actually safe to do. But if I were to make it into a film, I would have to get an option agreement to then ask the author, hey, can I option the film so that way I can go and make it into a series, right? So, right now, it's just a adaptation of it. So, like, for example, like Chilling Adventures of Sabrina is an adaptation of the Sabrina comic books from Archie. Or, like, the Marvel movies are an adaptation of Marvel comic books. Those are adaptations. You don't write directly from the story, because if you write a adaptation directly from the story, it can actually inhibit the film or the script from actually being screen worthy, because there are some moments where you can't have it because it doesn't follow film rules or script writing rules or stuff like that in terms of that. And it also doesn't help with the structure of film. So writing for scripts is completely different from books, enough to where you're writing something different enough, but you are still using intellectual property. I do this for those you are from the raid. I do this because writing original works on YouTube and Twitch and stuff like that, it opens you, especially in the script writing community, it opens you up to get your stuff stolen, and it is very rampant in the script writing community for your stuff to get stolen, with the benefit of having it be a adaptation of an intellectual property. If someone tried to steal it, they would still have to go through the intellectual property giant of the person that made it, and they would still have to provide proof that they made it. Whereas with a actual new creative product, that could get stolen just from someone watching my stream, unfortunately. So I do it to protect myself, but it does not mean that I won't do other films in the future. I just won't do them, live on stream. So yeah, I think so. Light walks over to the cashier register counter. He sets his stuff, his items down on the counter. All right. And then light. Mind. I think you should say, mind if I leave these here for a sec? They're a bit heavy. If I leave these here for a sec. They're a bit. They are a bit heavy. Actually, considering he's not carrying heavy items, I'm not going to say that part. Cashier. No, not off screen. No. Ah! There. Sure. Okay. And action. We're going to put the action in. And I feel like, so he put his stuff on the belt. He's put his stuff on the counter. So his back is to the camera. Still. His back is to the camera still. Cashier's still shaken up. Is still, so I feel like we should give her space to think. She's not gonna say, I think, sure is the most she's gonna say right now. And then he's gotta go, and walk over to the manga section, right? He's gotta walk over to the manga section of the, of this convenience store, right? So he has to walk over to that section, flip through pages, then obviously get the notebook out of his bag, put the notebook in, write the names, write the variation of the names. And then he then grabs the manga, and goes to her. She checks out his stuff, and then he walks out, and then I believe he should check his watch. The clock should strike on his watch, right? The little handle thingy, the little time thingy, right? You know what I mean? Like the hand, right? Should like tick, right? And he's like, okay, this is the moment that he dies, right? And then he watches this wonderful masterpiece of destruction happen. I feel like, see this chain reaction in my head. So, guy pulls out I feel like driver basically nods off on the wheel. Driver of a truck nods off on a wheel. And it has to be one of those trucks, right? From every anime. Every anime. Whenever you see someone get hit by a truck, it has to be one of those trucks. Has to be. So I feel like he nods off a little bit, right? So he nods off a little bit, and then so he's like, he accelerates by accident, right? The guy pulls out, or no, the light goes green. Guy starts driving out, but he's a little woozy. He's nodding off. And then the guy, not paying attention, pulls out in front of him. Smashed by truck. Bike gets hurtled across the street. Bike gets flipped several ways to Sunday across the street. Dude sprawled out on the floor. Helmet probably down the street also. Bike catches on fire. I feel like the bike should be on fire. I don't know why. Should be catching on fire, and we just, while the flames just highlight over Light's skin, he's like smiling a little bit, but just slightly, right? Just a sinister smile. Yes, the isekai truck! Yes, you knew what I'm talking about! Yes! The isekai truck! You know what it is! Yes, I feel like the guy needs to be a joke, because it's one of those jokes where, like, whoever it's one of those jokes where it's, like, hinting at, oh, yes, I know this is an anime, and we all know this came from an anime. We all know this is, like, takes place in Japan, and, like, so it's like a joke to the audience in a sense, right? The isekai, it's like a joke within itself, right? Yes, it has to be the isekai truck. It does, because it fits. It's a joke to the audience, and while it has to be a moment where you're like, you're seeing this unfold, and you're laughing because you know what the truck is, right? You know what's about to happen, and then after you start laughing, then you see the horrible destruction and gore that just happens, and you're like, mouth gaped on the floor, drops to the floor, and you don't know what to say at that point, right? I feel like that's how the scene should go. I told you I'm dark. Oh gosh. So let's start killing people. Okay. Light walks over to the manga aisle adjacent to the register. Counter. Let's see. Yes, that's why I like doing, cause like I follow. Okay, did you ever hear Disney say for every laugh there has to be a cry? Well, I believe that for every laugh there has to be a horrifying thing that happens. So that way it balances it out. So, yeah. Okay, walks over to the manga aisle adjacent to the register counter. I feel okay, so this takes place. Okay, light stops in front of. Okay, so what manga was out in the early 2000s, like 1990s? What was a manga that was out? Ooh. What manga was out? Okay. Now here comes the research. Okay, let's look up. Okay, early 2000s manga. And it has to be fitting. That's another thing. It has to be really fitting. Early 2000s. Ooh, top mangas of the 80s, 90s, and 2000s. That's good thought process to have as a horror writer. I understand the want to make it gory and stuff, but you need to add more humorous and emotional scenes so the horror really hits. It's true. Because that's also why Ghibli films work, is that when you give those fantastical moments space, you then create better gravity to those moments, right? So you want to have something where you're like, oh, it's just crazy. Okay, so in the 2000s section, Full Metal was out. Elfen Line, Maid Sama, Bakuman, Attack on Titan. I feel like I feel like it has to be like either it has to be something. I feel like it has to be something where he's over analyzing like the book that he buys, right? I feel like it has to be I feel it has to be kind of like Berserk or like Naruto or One Piece. Because I feel like there's three mindsets, right? That I could see with this. Berserk is the option of like if you wanted to go for a manga that like kind of has like not a god complex, but basically it kind of is darker in theme, and it's like these overpowered creatures, overpowered people, and stuff like that, right? But then I could also see an argument for doing Naruto, because Naruto came out in the early 2000s. It basically was one of the big fixtures, and it's something to be expected in a teenage boy's room, right? That's something to be expected in a teenage boy's room, right? I'm thinking in the mind of, like, right now, Light. What would he pick because he's trying to keep up appearances, right? So, like, Naruto, I could see it. And then One Piece would be something that would still be out. It obviously is still out, but, like, it would be something that would be out. It's still hitting because it was the 90s. I don't see Sailor Moon because Sailor Moon doesn't really. I don't feel like he would be like, okay, that doesn't feel like something that would be in a teenage boy's room, right? Hunter x Hunter feels a little too young for him, right? Not too young, but I don't feel like he's like, okay, a normal boy wouldn't choose this, right? A normal kid wouldn't choose this, right? Don't think card capture Sakura. No. I think I would do Naruto only because it's that, like, the juxtaposition, right? Of, like, it talks about the juxtaposition of, like, the nine-tail creature that is living inside of Naruto and Naruto himself. And in a sense, like, that's kind of like what Light is like. It's kind of a parallel to how Light sees himself in this moment, where he's like, okay, this is my outward thing of I'm this carefree guy, but then I have a sinister monster that's starting to grow within me, right? I could see the argument. I see it. Okay, it has to be Naruto in that sense because of how it just feels so. One, it fits the time period. Two, thematically, and it's just, it would be in a teenage Japanese boy's room. It would be in his room if he had it. So, yeah, Naruto. That's also another problem with, like, writing for this is that you have to be very conscious of the time period and also conscious of what was available in Japan, right? What was available in Japan during this time period of the early 2000s. So, of Naruto manga section. He bends down and grabs a issue and flips open the pages. He reaches with the other hand, the other hand in his bag and grabs the Deathnote. Deathnote. He puts the Deathnote note on top of he opens the Deathnote. He puts the Deathnote on the issue of Naruto. And opens it. He grabs his pen. Bends down, grabs an issue. He stands up. He stands up. Stands up. Okay. Okay. And because I want her to be standing, right? So he's giving the appearance from the cameras, right? They're seeing the look on his face, right? They're seeing him reading, making it look like he's reading, right? So it looks like he's grabbed an issue of a manga, right? And is reading it. But what he's really doing is writing this dude's name over and over again. So then he grabs his pen, his red pen, from his pocket, and writes different variations, variations of Su Du Shibu Daku traffic accident. And then light ooh, now we have an interesting moment. Because he could put in his bag. Or because we have to make it look not suspicious. And if he like kind of goes and puts something in his bag, bag, it's gonna show on the camera footage, right? So I feel like he gets a newspaper or a magazine, right? He has to get a newspaper or a magazine to then hide it inside. Inside that, the lady will scan it and be none the wiser. But it has to be something where it'll be thick enough, big enough to hide it, or, no. Got another option. He goes and closes the book, gets... Oh, I got it. So, book section right next to the flower section, right? And he's like, he goes to get flowers for his mom, right? So what he does is when he bends down, he's getting flowers for his mom, quote unquote, but this will allow him to disguise him bending down to get flowers. Because then he's bending down to get flowers, but he's actually putting the notebook away. Yes. That's what I'll do. How to get away with a murder. Okay. Light closes the book. Closes the issue and walks to the flower section and bends down. He puts away, he takes out the Deathnote from the issue, and puts it in his bag. Bag with his pen clipped to it. Because the thing is, right? Okay, for those of you who don't know what Deathnote is, imagine the ability to kill anybody in the world, as long as you've seen their face or know their name, falls into the hands of a teenage boy, and if he writes your name, he's able to kill you. That's literally what's going on. So literally, he he's going to kill this guy. He wants to test the notebook. So basically, he wants to kill this dude. Problem is that he has to get away with it. Cause the thing is, he's hyper aware that if he's sloppy, and this is a convenience store with cameras, he'll get caught. I'm adapting the idea. So it's a fun fan adaptation. So it's a fun fan adaptation where, I'm going and adapting it and including headcanons. I've watched like 2 episodes of Deathnote, by the way, TWD. No, yeah, there's some. Deathnote is one of those where it's kind of fallen out of public consciousness, especially after what happened with like Noah Jonas. Netflix trying to do a live action version of Deathnote and horribly doing it wrong. It's kind of fallen out of public, consciousness in a sense, and I was like, well, when I chose this one, I was like, yeah. So basically, like, when I chose this one, I was like, well, if I choose this one, it's gonna be one where I don't think I would ever. If I don't think I would be ever able to adapt it. Like, not say adapt it like for writing wise, but like adapt it film wise, right? Like, if someone gave me the money, I would definitely do it, but it's not one that I don't think I could do easily. So there's no like craziness to do it. Like, there is one anime that I am holding on to, that I am adapting in the background, that I would love to do, and I have the resources to do. But that one takes time, and I also don't want anyone to take the idea. So, for that one. But this one, I don't mind anything happening to it because I don't have too much personal stake. But I do love writing it. Yeah. The best scenario that I would love to happen is like, this gets enough fan support that I just accidentally stumble into the ability to ask to option it and then adapt it into a series. That would be like for 2 seasons. Like, I would love to do that. But I know that it's not the most likely. I know it's not the most likely due to the fact that, doing adaptations costs money. And though I could do it for a very inexpensive thing, it's still a lot of money. Like, the cheapest estimate I could say for, like, if I were to do something like this for Deathnote, I would say it would be like $50,000 for like a season. Only because it's like less it's less crazy technically, right? Because of the fact that Unreal Engine exists, so you can do a lot of the crazier moments in Unreal Engine, but still it's like one of those where it still costs money, and I don't think anyone freely has like $50,000 to just spare on anything. So yeah, but it is what it is. But it would be cool to be like, oh, this gets enough notoriety that basically Takashi Obita basically is like, oh yeah, like, I would love for you to have the right to like adapt this into a live action like adaptation, or even like you're a animated adaptation, just a different version of animation. You know, like I wouldn't mind doing that. Just it would require money, frankly. But it is what it is. This is one of my favorite things about being a producer is the writing process of it. You know, going and writing everything without holding back. Yeah, I really do hope, because like this, if I ever, I would love to become that person where I would just be doing all the anime adaptations of everything and being that person on YouTube of like, "Oh, you have an anime? Well, they'll adapt it." I would love to be that person. To be that producer and have my friends, help me produce it, but yeah. It just takes time. But yay. So, he has the Death Note, his pen clipped to it. He grabs. Okay, he takes out the Death Note, puts it in his bag with the pen clipped to it. He grabs flowers and stands up. Stands up to smell them. Smell them. He walks to the register counter. Register counter. Okay. See what page we're on? We're on 18. Making good time. Okay. So let's see. Bits of okay, so I feel like he should say this is everything. I think this is everything. I think this is everything. And cashier. Uh, may I have your phone? May I have the phone? Your phone? The phone? Your the number for the order? Your phone number for the order? May I have your phone number for the order? Your phone number for the order? The order? Sure. Sure. I'm gonna, for now, I'm just gonna put a, like, XXX. I'm just gonna do the Hollywood thing of just put hashtags where a phone number would go until you have, like, you know the number that you're allowed to put in. So, sure. Okay, no, let me put in action. Cashier types on the keyboard of the computer and then bags puts lights items in bags. In bags. Thank you. Thank you for earlier. Thank you for earlier. There it is. I'm terrible at spelling. I am horrible at spelling. I'm bad. Thank you for earlier. He's a pain. He's a pain. It's fine. Fine. Was happy I was here. Happy I was here to help. Here to help. Cashier smiles and hands light the Oh, I forgot. She should scan the items. She should really scan the items. Ay, ay, ay. Scans the issue and the flower. And puts lights items in the bag. Because I feel like the reason why I say that is I feel like I'm having her only scan those two things is I feel like she already scanned the other things. Like as a cashier, you would scan what's on the belt because you know they're going to like go and they're gonna be coming back in a couple seconds. You might as well if he's the only one in the store, right? It's not like another customer is gonna be coming in the store anytime soon. So I feel like those are the only two things she scans that smiles, light, flowers, and bags. Smiles, bags, the bags, light, grabs bags and gives her money. And are there credit cards in Japan? I know they have the bus cards. You know what? Let me look this up. Because I feel like I know they have like those cards called I think the Swinka cards or something like that. Early 2000s. Did Japan have credit cards in the no, bus cards, train cards, bus cards in the 90s. Okay, so let's check 90s first. Smart card, an electric purse. Okay, so bus cards did exist. Don't know which company. But Swinka or Pasmo. So I'm gonna say Suica because and grabs the bags. The bag and swipes his Suica card. Swipes his Suica card. Light walks to the door and opens it. Now we're outside. Oh, for the main event! The main event now. Exterior city. Evening. The sun is setting. The sun is setting over the city. Light walks out the open door. Yay! We got to 250 words! Cool! Yay! We got to the goal! Okay, sun is setting over the city. Lights walks out the open door. He checks his watch. Checks his watch. His watch. Checks his watch. The clock hand moves. And ticks. Light looks at the street. Looks at the street. Because he knows what's gonna happen! Looks at the street. The traffic light changes from red to green. Red to green. Okay. Oh, just screenwriting Deathnote. You know, I'm about to write the traffic accident that light causes. So, yeah, basically. I know. Google, don't do that. Basically, driver dozy at the wheel. Basically, driver's dozing off at the wheel. Hasn't had Red Bull, obviously. Is going. He Sodu is gonna pull out in front of him. and get hit. Is not going to pay attention and pull out in front of him and get hit by a car. Not a car, a truck. No, it's a fan adaptation. Traffic lights change from red. That. A truck driver. Looks very tired and is slouching over the wheel. The wheel is slouching over the wheel. Slouching over the wheel. Slouching over the wheel. The driver's eyes are heavy and close Sudu frantically puts his stuff away. Not frantically. Quickly puts his stuff in the seat compartment. Closes it. He closes it. Sudu closes it. And sits on the motorcycle. Sits on it, pulls on the he revs the He revs the motorcycle. He revs it and speeds off, down the street, the isekai truck side sweeps him. Side sweeps him. Side sweeps the motorcycle. The motorcycle. The motorcycle cycle flips down the sidewalk. The sidewalk. Flips down the sidewalk. Down the sidewalk. And bursting into flames. While Sudo's body lays in the street getting run over by passing cars. While Sudo's body lays in the street being run over by passing cars. Yay! Okay. My little demented little brain. Okay. The reflection of flames there's a reflection of flames in in Light's eyes. Light's eyes. And he smirks. Yay! Okay. So, we finally got the traffic accident written. He gets isekai'd and then run over multiple times just to make it even more brutal. You know, because why not? You know, I'd imagine how sadistic. You know. Nice job. Thanks! It helps that I have a very, very vivid imagination. Very vivid imagination, and I'm very, very vivid thoughts. Oh man. Yeah. At least, you know, we got through this scene. Now, the next scene we have to get through. Which I think I'm gonna leave for next time because we've been doing this for what, like an hour? A couple hours? For a next stream, we're gonna go and have the ramifications of it. Same, it just that the second I try to use Cremo, I decide to stop working. It decides to stop working. Oh, yeah, true. It happens. For me, like, I am very lucky. My brain just works very cinematically. Like, my brain, like, when I go to sleep, it's like it's not that I'm experiencing the dream, it's more that I'm, like, reporting on the dream. If you know what I mean. Like, I am only there to be, like, someone to watch and witness, but I'm not the one driving the dream. Yeah. Thank you for raiding me. I'm gonna raid someone else. Let me raid someone else. Let me find. Search. Same category. See. I think we're going to send you guys to the Game of Tomes. So this one, I saw this one, Game of Tomes. He seems cool. Or she. I couldn't tell from the picture. Okay. Followers only chat. Oh wow. Oh my gosh.